This is Mayor Oliver Gilbert, and we've gone virtual. Now, I wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to learn how to save a life while staying at home. Join me for CPR with Dr. Carrington. Let's learn how to save lives together.
Welcome back to Virtual CPR First Aid Educational Training. We hope you're enjoying the weekly sessions and that you're learning. Let's get to another session. Regardless of how severe, almost all bleeding can be controlled. Mild bleeding is usually stopped on its own, but if severe bleeding is not controlled, it may lead to shock and eventually death in some cases. Steps to take if you see a person bleeding. First, you should stay calm. Get a first aid kit if available. Cover the wound with a gauze or a cloth. Apply direct pressure to stop the blood flow. Do not remove the cloth or gauze. Add more layers if you bleed through or if it is needed. The cloth will help the clots to form to stop the bleeding. You want to check for signs of shock and confusion, and of course, call 911 if the bleeding cannot be controlled or you see signs of shock. Also, if you think that the injury is caused from a fall because they could be spinal or head injury. Applying a tourniquet can do more harm and should only be applied if necessary, such as when a severed limb has occurred. Let's take a look at this clip.
Much of the first aid you will give will be for injuries that are common in the workplace. Many of these injuries involve bleeding. We have divided bleeding into two types. Bleeding you can see because it is bleeding on the outside of the body, and bleeding you can't see because it is inside the body. Bleeding that you can see can be frightening, but the fact is that you can stop most bleeding you can see with pressure alone. The most important thing is to stay calm. Bleeding often looks a lot worse than it is.
What happened?
Man, I cut my hand. Knife slipped.
Listen, it's okay. I know first aid. I'm gonna help, all right?
All right.
So get this fixed. I'm gonna try and stop the bleeding, so I gotta press down hard. Your hand's still bleeding, so I'll get an extra gauze.
Take the bloody one off?
No, because it might pull off the clots and make the bleeding worse. I'll press harder on this extra gauze. I should be able to stop the bleeding with a little more pressure. I think the bleeding has stopped now.
Take the following first aid actions to stop bleeding you can see. Be sure the scene is safe for you and the victim. Send someone to get the first aid kit. Wear personal protective equipment. Use pressure to stop the bleeding. If bleeding does not stop, apply more pressure. If you still can't stop bleeding, apply a second dressing and press harder. Do not remove any gauze once it's in place. Check for signs of shock.
Now, let's take a look at bleeding that you cannot see.
Hey, Matt!
What?
I need you to check in a new shipment for me.
What?
I need you to check in a new shipment for me.
Look, I'll be right there in a second.
What? Ah! Ah! Look, move the lift back. Move the lift back.
I didn't see him. I thought he saw the lift.
Look, down 9 to get an outside line. And down 911, all right? Just relax, man. Are you all right, man?
My son is killing me.
It's okay. Just lay your head down for me. Oh. Yeah, it looks like it got you right there, man. Just lay your head down. Relax, relax.
I'm feeling dizzy.
It's okay, Matt. Listen to me. You may be bleeding inside your body, all right? Does it hurt anywhere else?
It's just on my side.
Good. Look, give me a box of something so I can put his feet up, okay? Just relax your legs. Just relax, man. It's okay. I want you to just stay calm and lie still for me, okay? Okay. It's gonna be all right. Okay. All right. All right, listen.
Let's talk about another kind of bleeding, bleeding you can't see. A strong blow to the chest or stomach or a fall can cause injury and bleeding inside the body. You may not see signs of bleeding on the outside of the body or at all, or you may see a bruise on the skin over the injury. An injury that has caused bleeding you can't see could be minor or very severe. You should suspect bleeding inside the body if a victim is injured by a car or bicycle crash or pedestrian injury, a blast, a fall from a height, a knife or gunshot.
Thank you for watching. Remember, everyone can learn to save a life. See you next week for more educational training on first aid and CPR.
I hope you enjoyed today's session and I hope you learned a lot. Join us every Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. on Facebook Live for CPR with Dr. Carrington. If you want to view this session again, just to brush up on your skills, visit cmgengage.com/virtual. We'll see you next week.